For 2,000 years, we've painted him, sculpted him, and imagined him. The world's most famous face is entirely a mystery. The Bible? It gives us not a single detail about his physical appearance. So, what did Jesus of Nazareth really look like? We have two radically different portraits, both claiming to be the truth. The first comes from bones, dust, and modern forensics. The other comes from a single, blood-stained piece of cloth. One side argues he was a typical man of his time. The other suggests he was a giant. Today, we're going to put both portraits under the microscope. This is a scientific detective story where the clues are 2,000 years old.
To paint an accurate portrait of a man from ancient history, you can't trust art. You have to become a forensic detective, and the first tool in your kit is anthropology. If we want to know what Jesus looked like, we start with a simple question. What did a first-century Jewish man from Galilee look like?
The answer is found in the ground. Archaeologists have unearthed several skeletons from the exact time and place where Jesus lived. Science gives us a very clear, average profile. The diet was simple: bread, olives, fish, leading to a lean, compact physique. Average height, 165 centimeter. Average weight, 50-60 kg. 100 fish in the bud. Muscular from manual labor. Skin tone, olive to warm brown. Hair, short, dark, curly. Dishonorable. This is the scientific consensus. A man who blended into a crowd. This is exactly what forensic artist Richard Niv used to create his famous 2001 reconstruction. Using 3 Semite skulls and the latest in 3D modeling, he built a face that would shock the Renaissance painters. On screen, show the Richard Niv reconstruction of Jesus's face. Hold on it for a beat. This is likely the most scientifically accurate face of a typical first-century Judean man. Dark skin, wide face, short black curly hair. A man who looked nothing like a European supermodel and everything like his neighbors. This is portrait #1, the average man. But now, let's look at a completely different piece of evidence. A piece of evidence that doesn't describe the average man. It describes a very specific one, an artifact so controversial it has been called both a miracle and a medieval hoax. I'm talking about the Shroud of Turin. Slow, detailed macro shots of the shroud, the faint image of the face, the hands folded. This 4.4-meter-long linen cloth bears the faint, negative image of a man who has been crucified. But beyond the mystery of the image itself, the man it depicts is an anatomical anomaly. He is nothing like our anthropological model. If the shroud is authentic, Jesus of Nazareth was not just a carpenter. He was a Colossus. Let's set the debate over its age aside for a moment. Let's just look at the data points the linen provides. Because whoever this man was, his physical statistics are shocking. Let's begin with stature. Today, an average man might be around 176 centimeters. But 2,000 years ago, the average was a full 10 to 15 centimeters shorter. So, imagine you are in a crowd in ancient Jerusalem. You're shoulder to shoulder with men who are 165 centimeters. And then, you see the figure from the shroud. Shroud stature, 181 centimeters. Difference, he was a head taller than the average man. He's not just tall, he's massive. His calculated weight is between 75 and 80 kilograms. In an era of lean subsistence farmers, this man had the build of a heavyweight athlete or a dedicated modern gym goer. This completely destroys the image of a frail, emaciated ascetic. This was a body forged by decades of hard labor, as a tekton, a craftsman who worked with stone and wood, not just a cute carpenter with smooth hands. Shroud weight, 75 to 80 kg. Heater in 100 segya 170 suckered man. Foot size. Using anatomical proportions from the shroud's print, scientists estimate a foot size of approx 43 to 44 EU. And now, the most medically compelling evidence, the blood and the wounds. The stains on the cloth are real human blood, identified as type AB, a rare group but more common in the Middle East. But it's not just the type, it's the anatomy that's so precise it baffles skeptics. The flow of blood from the head wounds doesn't run straight down. It trickles in rivulets down the hair, exactly conforming to gravity over a scalp covered in a cap of thorns. The blood from the wrist wound runs down the forearm in two distinct streams at precise angles that correspond to a man writhing in agony, pulling himself up to breathe and collapsing in exhaustion. This is not the work of an artist who didn't understand anatomy. This is a forensic photograph written in blood. Wounds: over 120 scourge marks from a Roman flagrum. Blood group, AB. The spear wound, post-mortem blood and clear serum separation. The most chilling detail? The wound in his side. The blood that seeped from it is separated into distinct red blood cells and a clear, watery serum. A medieval artist wouldn't know this, but modern doctors do. This separation proves a pleural effusion, a massive chest trauma causing the blood to separate after death. It's a detail modern forensic pathologists call medically accurate to a startling degree. So, we have two irreconcilably different portraits. On one hand, forensic anthropology, which gives us a statistically probable, average man who blends in. On the other, a mysterious, hyper-specific forensic artifact that gives us a giant who stood out by a head. Which one is real? The skeptics point to the 1988 radiocarbon dating that placed the shroud's origin in the 13th or 14th century. Case closed, they say. It's a hoax. But then, pro-authenticity scientists point out the dating sample was taken from a corner of the cloth, a section that had been repaired in the Middle Ages with newer cotton, skewing the results. They cite the pollen grains from plants that grow only around Jerusalem, found embedded in the linen. The plot thickens. Here's the truth no one can deny. We don't have a definitive answer, but we have something more powerful, a profound question. Was Jesus a common everyman, proving that God chooses the ordinary? Or was he a physical giant, whose stature made him literally stand out, a symbol of his spiritual authority that you could see with your own eyes? The shroud doesn't close the case. It keeps it permanently open, and it challenges both believers and skeptics to stop and look. Ultimately, Jesus' physical appearance remains a mystery for a reason, perhaps. It forces us to see him not with our eyes, but with our minds. A 5'5" average man or a 6'1" giant, both would have the same mission, both would have the same impact. Science is fascinating because it makes history tangible. We can touch the past with DNA, 3D models, and forensic analysis. But the heart of history remains a matter of faith. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Which portrait do you find more convincing? A statistically likely average man or an anatomical giant from a mysterious relic? Let's have a respectful, engaging discussion in the comments section below. This isn't about proving one side right or wrong. It's about examining the most famous figure in history from every possible angle. If you enjoyed this in-depth analysis, please hit the like button. It really helps the channel. Subscribe and hit the bell if you want more videos that explore the Bible through the lens of science and history. And share this video with someone who loves a good detective story. See you next time.